Hello and welcome back to the Rugby League Hub podcast, a weekly podcast in which we discuss the goings-on in the Rugby League world. Joining me again in the studios this week is Ross Williams. How are you doing?
Hi mate, how you doing?
And this week we got our very first special guest. It's Mr. Connor Grace. How are we doing?
Yeah, good, thanks lads, good.
We'll kick off this week, as we do, with the headlines from the world. And quite a big talking point this week. It's Nigel Woods in the news again. Taken a 500k severance pay when he left the RFL. What are our opinions on that, boys? Keep it clean, please.
So I'll just write a list of the amount of things that the RFL could have done with that money instead of that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it? There's no other word for it, but ridiculous. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it. What is the theory behind it? What's the logic? I don't understand. We're complaining that the game's in a mess, and we're paying off 500k. It's crazy. I'm sure you'll agree, Ross, won't you?
It's a complete joke, mate. I mean, you look at Championship clubs, League One teams. You know what I mean? It's like struggling. I mean, there's teams on the brink. You know what I mean? Sometimes, and 500k is a hell of a lot of money. That's something that can potentially keep a club like in League One afloat for a year. You know what I mean? I'll give them a hell of a boost. You know what I mean? We're talking. There's players around who won what 20k a year. How many players could you? I mean, do the math quick. how many players could you pay for a year? You know what I mean? On that 500k, and realistically, what? I know he's the spearhead of the RFL. You know what I mean? He's done all this stuff, but how many of these ideas have really come from him? How much of an impact has he personally really had to warrant this 500k? It baffles me, to be honest.
I think it comes back to that argument of the RFL not really looking after the Championship and League One clubs, and I think this is probably the biggest highlight we've had of that issue for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just maddening. Like Connor said, I just can't weigh up. Like, if they've got 500k just lying around in a severance package, like, why is that money not being used elsewhere?
Has this been confirmed? Is this just rumours?
It was in League Express this morning, so it's come from
I'll go with that.
half decent sources. Yeah. So it's
still rumoured at the moment.
It's unconfirmed, but for League Express to print it this morning.
I trust Aaron Bauer from the League Express.
And we'll move on to slightly better news, certainly for Castleford fans. Amongst the world of Zach Hardaker's potential drugs ban or ban from Rugby League, Daryl Powell's come out and said he might still have a future in the game. Now, there's a few talking points here. Obviously, he's a great player, and I know many fans would love to see him back in the game. Do we think that should be so straightforward for him?
It depends what he really means by a future in the game. You know what I mean? You've got Gareth Hock, who's at Fev now. He's just signed for Fev. He's done a ban in the past, stuff like that. I think Zach is only 26, 27. You know what I mean? He's certainly got a career ahead of him if he wants it and if he can get straight. And it's just he's that good a player that someone will pick you up. Even if he gets 2 years and he has 2 years out of the game, he's that good a player. I think someone will pick you up. I think it's as simple as that. Whether it be Cass or...
Listen, I know Zach personally. He's a good lad. He'll admit he's made some mistakes in his past. At the end of the day, if they choose to give him 2 year ban, he'll take that 2 year ban. And like Ross says, teams are going to come in for him. I've read something today about Wigan potentially interested. Now, I don't know the truth in that, but obviously Castleford might have something to say about that. I think Daryl's keen on keeping him on, and you couldn't blame him. Although he's like I say, he's made mistakes. You wouldn't be able to blame Daryl if he wanted to keep Zach on. Like Ross says, he's a top quality player, and we need our best players from an England point of view playing in Super League.
Well, how many times have we said it? If Hardaker playing at fullback in that World Cup final, I think that could have been different.
Oh, he's got everything. Defensively, attack. He's safe under the eye ball. Well, since Paul Wellens, I think Zach's the best defensive fullback we've had.
And I think we'll just raise this point. We've seen it specifically, my point of view, with Ben Barber. He had his 2 year ban, and then admittedly he went off to Rugby Union, tried a bit there, but he come back and he wasn't the same player straight away. If Zach Hardaker serves his ban, do we think he'll be able to just slot right back in, or do we think it's going to be a different style of player once he comes back?
It's tough to say. I mean, 2 years out of game, it's going to knock you a little bit. It's going to affect you just not being in that system. You know what I mean? Not running around with lads for 2 years. It's going to change you. But I think he's one of these players, and there's not that many around in England, especially who've just got proper natural raw talent. You know what I mean? You're never going to lose that. I don't think. No matter how old he is, no matter how many years he has out of game, he's never going to lose that talent. I think he's always going to have the ability to bring that back. for me. So
Yeah, I mean, 2 years out, he's going to be a bit rusty if he does come back. But Zach's a natural athlete. Let's not hide away from this. I mean, you mentioned Ben Barber. He come back and by all accounts were carrying a bit of weight. Had to shift that. I don't think that'd be an issue with Zach. I mean, I could be wrong, but it just strikes you as that natural athlete, you know. And he's, as you can see by his physique, he's always been lean. He's never looked to carry weight. He'll be fine. He'll slot straight back into a full-time environment.
End of the day, you look at your social media. Every 2 minutes in the gym, you know what I mean. He's keeping in shape. He's not letting himself go or anything like that. It's not going to be a massive deal.
And by all accounts, he's working for one of Casa's main sponsors, so he's going to be kept busy by the club. You know, he's not going to be just forgotten about and casted away.
Yeah. Fair enough. Obviously, just a sign that he could be back into the game there. It's probably more exciting times for, like you say, the England squad. It's always going to be a positive to have a player of that calibre in the team. But we'll continue with our Super League previews today, and we'll start off with the Warrington Wolves. A big change up for their squad this year. A lot of players out and a lot of players in. Do we think that is going to help or hinder the squad?
Well, it's their year, so
it's always
a year. Come on, Ross. Something original.
Yeah, I think if you're ever going to... I know they've been called it so many times over the years, but it's dark horse, I think, isn't it? I think Warrington have got to be a dark horse again. I think the big thing for me, Warrington, this year is because how 2017 went for them, is they are now in the exact same spot that Leeds Rhinos were in this time last year. And look what they did. And they didn't have the kind of turnover that Warrington have had. And you look at some of the players they brought in. Murdoch Masilla was an absolute monster for at least half a season last year. And he looked in great shape at the World Cup. And, you know, you probably know a lot more about Tyrone Roberts than I do. I don't watch a great deal of NRL. But
class, mate. On his day, he's class. But it's a gamble.
Yeah.
It's a gamble.
It's always the case. Like I said, I've heard a great deal about him. But like I said, players have gone as well. You look at Joe Westerman, Ashton Sims, you know, the big strike players there. So, yeah, we'll have to see.
I think one player for me who's not in either of these lists, it's Ben Curry. Out for the most of last season.
It's like a new signing.
It is like a new signing. I think if he has another year, you know, you've got Ben Curry and Murdoch Masilla on either side. I think that's a big
scary,
strike weapon for Warrington this year.
Yeah, I'm a bit undecided on Warrington. I think they've signed some quality players, there's no hiding away from that, but I just feel they lack a bit of pace. I look at the halfbacks, Kevin Brown and Roberts are going to be the halfbacks.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong, they're both classy players, but neither of them are going to break the line and make 50-yard breaks for you. Look out wide. I mean, Ratchford, he can shift, but he's not the quickest of fullbacks if you look down the other teams. And the wingers, Lynham and Russell, I mean, Mitch Brown signed from Lee, and I really rate him. Right. I think he's a shrewd signing, and they're probably going to go with Lynham and Russell to start with, but once Brown gets his chance, I think he'll take it. He's a tidy player, whether he plays in the centre or on the wing, or even fullback. You know, I think he'll keep his place, and he'll prove to be a real good signing for Warrington. And
along with the big change-up, new set of coach, it's a fresh Warrington side. They're going to play a little bit different to how Tony Smith, and it's a lot of new. They've not really lost anyone that big, in my opinion. You know, Sims and Westerman, as you said, probably the biggest two, but you know, Westerman not really been on form the last couple of seasons. And
Westerman's one of them who could have been an absolute world beater. And just never quite got there.
When he first
he's inconsistent. That's the problem with Westerman. You get 5 or 6 good games from him, and you'll think, oh, he's on the verge of the England squad. And you know, I mean, you look at the beginning of last season. How good was he against Brisbane? How good was Westerman against Brisbane? And then he goes missing for a month, and people aren't talking about him. Then that's Joe Westerman all over.
He's always been frustrating. Like, obviously, I watched him as a 17, 18-year-old kid at Cast when we played in the Championship in 2007. He was absolutely a young player of the year. He was absolutely unbelievable. And then he had a couple of knocks, and then ended up going to Hull, and it just kind of detrimental from there. But I really thought he was going to be England's 13 going forward for years and years and years. And like I say, inconsistency just kind of hindered him really. So
it's the inevitable question: is it the year this year? Where do we think?
No, not for me. Not for me. I think they'll be fighting for top 4. I think they'll just miss out. I don't think they'll make the top 4. I think they'll make the top 8, which is expected. But I just think there's a lot of change at Warrington, and if it all goes to plan, it could be great. But I can't see it all going to plan. I think they'll just miss out on the top 4. But it'll be a step in the right direction, and they can build on that.
I agree. They're a little bit unpredictable. I think they're going to do a little bit better than that. I think they're going to be in the 4. But yeah, it is a little bit unpredictability about it. I think they have a good start. They've got to crack on from there. If they don't, and a bit of that uncertainty creeps in from last year, which is bound to be there, after the run games they had, then it's going to be a bit of a challenge if that happens, but we'll see with Warrington.
No, I think I'd agree with Connor on that one. I think it's going to be a bit of a rebuilding year, setting a foundation for years to play on. Hopefully they can keep hold of the likes of Roberts for more than one season. We know what the typical idea of Australian players coming over here is. But I think they're not going to go the full way for me. Obviously, we'll talk about it later when we do our predictions for the table.
Just one player I want to say something about is Harvey Levett. He missed a large chunk of last season with a hamstring injury. He is a player, and he's only a young lad. I don't quite think Tony Smith knew his best position. He played a lot of centre, half-back. I think Steve Price sees him as a half-back. But it's going to be tough to break into that side. Obviously, they've still got Det Patton, let's not forget. He's another young lad who's quality, but I just think Harvey Levett's he's a natural rugby league player. He's got everything. He can kick, he can pass, he can break a line, and he's going to be one to watch for Warrington in 2018.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Price has really seen in this off-season camp. You know what I mean? To see what a fresh set of eyes on this squad, see what they can do. Because that's been the problem with Warrington, I think. Like, they've had a bit of a revolving door at all the key positions, haven't they? Like, you look at Ratchford, he's played everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, if he'd have had a certain he's stuck position for 5-6 years, and it could have been a lot different. It's just, I mean, look at Russell, who you fall back now, he's on the wing. You know what I mean? It's a bit of a revolving door. So it'll be interesting to see what Price has really seen.
Steve Price will be crossing his fingers that Darryl Clark can rediscover his form.
Agreed.
Yeah,
that's massive for them.
Also, could be like another new signing, as you said with Curry, if he can get back to the form he showed at Casford and probably his early Warrington days. He's probably one of the best nines in the competition.
Again, he's one of these who, realistically, 5 years ago, he'd have gone, well, he's going to be England's nine for 10 years. And then not quite at that kind of form, but he's got it in locker.
There's no doubt about that. And he will, I think he'll break back into the England squad. There's no doubt about it. His class and Warrington will be a better team if they can keep him on the park all season.
Yeah, it's a fresh start for Warrington. But we'll move on now to Wakefield and our man on the inside today, Connor. We'll start off
decked in blue and red in the studio.
Dressed
kitted out
for his position. We'll just start. What's pre-season been like at the club? Our signs there?
Oh, it's been great. The lads actually, they've just got back from Lanzarote. They've been on a pre-season camp, and by all accounts, I mean, I'd have liked Michael Carter to have taken me. It'd been nice to have a week in the sun. But anyway, no, it's gone good. There's been a few new signings, and we've gone heavy. Paulie, Justin Horrow, they're going to add some grunt to what was already a formidable pack last year. Let's not talk away from that. David Fafita and Craig Ewby, two of the form props in the comp. Paulie is going to add to that, but Jordan Baldwinson is a signing that perhaps didn't get the opportunities he deserved at Leeds. Whenever I've seen him play for Featherstone, I've always been impressed with him. He's got a good engine, he's got a good pair of hands, he's a big lad, but he's fit and mobile as well, which is a big thing, and I think he could play a big part. I'm excited. This is the first real season I've gone into it thinking we can make a shot at top 4 here. And that's a realistic target. Obviously, John Kay's left behind the scenes, but Michael Monaghan's come in and he'll fit in. He'll fine. And I'm sure the likes of Woody and Jacob Miller, the halves and the hookers are looking forward to working with him. He's a class player back in his day.
Yeah, and as you said, there's been some solid signings there. Horrow and Paulie, two big men, as you said, and it was a solid squad last year, and they've only added to that. How do you think are they gonna push Wakefield even further up? Because last season they wasn't a bad side by any means.
No, all the signs were there, weren't they? They kind of fell short of the final hurdle, but all the signs were there. Like I say, mentioned the signings coming in, but similar to Warrington, as we mentioned with Curry and potentially Daz Clark, a player coming back in. Tom Johnson, lads, he was absolutely unbelievable the year before, and so it was so disappointing that he went down. Even as you don't have to be a Wakefield fan to be disappointed about Tom Johnson going down last year after what he did the year before, and you just wonder what Wakefield could have done last year with him. To be fair, I know the guys who filled in, your Bishops, your Kate and Brown did a good job, but Tom Johnson is such a talent, and I think him coming back into the side this year is a proper strike player that's going to threaten just about every team in Super League, I think. So
I look down the playing roster and I think they've got strength and depth in every position. I mean, you look at fullback, Scott Griggs is going to be a first choice fullback, but behind him you've got Max Jowett, who, let's not forget, in 2016 was the Albert Goldthorpe Rookie of the Year. He's a class act and he's got a bright future. But But behind him, there's another young lad, Luke Cooley, who, by all accounts, according to Chesney, he's been training the house down in pre-season. But then if players like Jones Bishop, let's not forget, he sees his natural position as fullback.
Yeah.
And then you look at the wingers. I mean, Ross has already said, Kate and Brown filled in for Johnston last year. You wouldn't be disappointed if he had to fill in for him again this year, or if Jones Bishop got an injury and had to fill in. In the centres, Arundel, Lynn Tupou, you've got to pick two of them. I think Arundel's been outstanding in pre-season, but Bill Tupou and Reece Lynn, we all know the quality they've got. All around the park, I think they've got strength in depth, and it's going to be tough for Chesney to pick a 17 for OKR this weekend.
So this is the best spot Wakefield's been in for, how many years? I think, honestly, we're talking probably 20, 30 years, in terms of the Wakefield squad for me, from what I've seen. And I think this year, looking at Super League, I think there's kind of two categories. There's teams that need to improve. You look at your Warringtons and your teams that are further down the table. Catalans we mentioned a few weeks ago. And I think there's some teams that can just do with consolidating and making that spot their own. That's part of the table their own. I think Wakefield's in that category, and I think the fact you look at their turnover, like I say, not really many players gone out, talent they've brought in. They've got every chance to consolidate in that spot, and consolidating could be that top four. I reckon they can potentially knock on the door there, and why not?
You touched on it a little bit there, and you said one of the keys for me is not losing anyone, really.
Yeah.
It'd be quite easy for them to lose the likes of Fafita, and keeping that squad together, it only helps build, and that's all you can ask them to do from last season. And I think that's a real plus point for them, in my opinion.
Like I say, in terms of league, they're going to be up there. I think in terms of Challenge Cup as well, who's going to want to go to Bellevue this year? Realistically,
Nobody.
No one's going to fancy the. Sorry, what's it called? Not Bellevue.
The Mobile Rocket Stadium.
That's good.
It's a good ring. It's a good ring to it.
It's not the worst. I can't say anything. So,
Men the hose
I don't think anyone in this room can say anything about
totally
stadiums.
Over here, so.
Got a right selection here.
But like I say, in terms of the cup, get to fifth round quarterfinals. No one's going to want to go to Bellevue.
I'm looking forward to Tyler Randall coming back from injury.
Yes,
I mean,
liked him, to be fair.
He played 2 or 3 matches towards the back end of last year after he signed. He did his knee ligaments in the Boxing Day game against Leeds.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to him getting back fit, because I think, Kyle Wood is outstanding at what he does. He was great for us last season, played 80 minutes at 9 because he's a small bloke and he played well above his weight. But, the luxury that Chesney's going to have when Tyler's back fit, that, Tyler can start at 9, they can bring Woody on, or Tyler can play a bit of 13 and Woody can play 9. I think it'll bring the best out of the pair of them. And coming back to it, there's just competition all over the squad. And I'm going to be biased, but I fancy Wakefield for the top 4.
Yeah, sure. I think it's exciting me as well, especially being a Castleford supporter. It's just like, for years and years and years now, probably the last 10 years, you look at your big games in the league, you look at your Wigan Saints, the games where Warrington are involved. It's your Lancashire sides generally that have kind of dominated, and then obviously your Hull Derby as well. But this year, look no further than West Yorkshire for these derby games.
Castle Wakey Grand Final.
Castle Wakey Grand Final. They were calling for it last year, and it very nearly happened. So, but honestly, God, these West Yorkshire derbies, Castle Wakefield, Leeds, when they play each other, there's going to be fireworks in it. There's going to be big crowds. Hopefully, these grounds getting filled. It's going to be massive, massive, massive games. I'm excited.
Yeah, exciting times, as you said. There's a few teams mixing it up with the big boys, in quotation marks, and we'll see. I think you've made me rethink my table predictions there, lads. I might have to have
He's going to bump Wakefield up, isn't he? I've seen him. He's got him down 7th, 8th. Is it? Have you got him there?
Yeah, we'll keep that struggling. We'll move on to probably the other end of the table now, and largely tipped for relegation by many a people.
Yeah,
it's Widnes. Is anyone going to offer up a different opinion other than relegation for Widnes?
Bottom of the league. Simple as that. They might survive the middle eights. Who knows? But you look down the squad. There's some decent players. Tristan Nino, if they can get him playing, is a decent signing. Well, I say he's a decent signing. For Widnes is a decent signing, and that's not being disrespectful to Widnes, but that's where they're at. That's where they're at. They're
correct.
I'd like to see Widnes a long-term plan. What is it? Where do they look to be at in 4 or 5 years' time? I think Dennis Bett spoke about it 12 months ago, that they were building year on year, and a couple of years ago you'd have said, yeah, but they've lost. I mean, they sold Kevin Brown. Yeah. They've lost a few other players, and look, if they can keep the spine fit, your Reece Hambridge, your Joe Mellors, your Tom Gilmores, and Lloyd White, that they'll pick up some wins at home because no team likes going over and playing on the high pitch. I'm speaking from past experience as well. But I can't see them finishing anywhere but the bottom of the league.
They just look like cannon fodder, don't they, to be honest, at the minute. Like I say, you don't want to say it, but you just fancied them to bring some proper players in this year. Like they had to. After last season, this was the moment they really had to. And like I say, they brought Inu in, and other than that, it's pretty slim pickings, isn't it?
So they've signed the Albert brothers.
Yeah, Stanton and Wellington Albert, I think.
I haven't seen much of them. I can't really comment on them too.
So.
It's just what you'd expect from PNG, big brute forwards, but...
Oh, they'll do a job. They'll do a job for Widnes. They're the sort of players that you need to... But, like you said, they're a bit light on numbers and a bit light on quality.
I think you look at that squad and it's almost become a bit stale the past couple of years, There's no one you look in that squad and you think, he's going to do something.
Quite a bit of deadwood, yeah.
And I think you mentioned the long-term plan. I think that's just sort of slowed down. Everyone's just kind of become content and not with where they are in the league, but with what they're doing, and it's not really worked out.
No, I read a team sheet last year when Widnes came on to cast, and it was just like, and I recognised half the names. It wasn't because of Super League; it's because I'd watched them playing for the 19s year before, and I was like, as much as you like to see the kids coming up, I mean, we've had the reserve grade debate before. It's a massive step.
They've got some good kids. I'll give
Widnes.
There's
a few good ones. There's Walker in there. He's lots of
and I'm a big fan of the centres. Is it Chamberlain? Ed Chamberlain?
Yeah, I
yes,
think
they had him and Ryan Ince, and I remember seeing them at Magic Weekend. And Wakefield put a decent score on them, but those two were the shining lights in what was a poor Widnes side. Hopefully they get some game time because they'll be looking to break into that Widnes side definitely and cement the places.
Yeah, as much as it's going to be a difficult time for Widnes as a club, I think, as you say, it's probably a good opportunity for the players that are there to kind of put us in, you don't want to say it, but maybe put themselves in shop window kind of thing this season, or play for a big contract or something. But yeah, in terms of the table, it's gonna be difficult.
They need to stay injury free as well. They need to stay injury free.
I think
because the squad's light enough as it is. And
exactly. Yeah,
it was a big part of last season. You mentioned the youngsters; they only got their chance because of the injuries, and obviously it's a big plus for Widnes to have youngsters of that calibre to back them up. But you can't rely on them for a full season. If you're talking youngsters to back up a team for the whole season, you're talking your superstars, your future England for 10 years, and necessarily they could go on to do that. But for me, going into a season, you don't want to be going in having to rely on youngsters from the start.
No, definitely not.
So I think for me, as we said, not necessarily relegation, but I think middle eight to what they're looking at this season for me.
In terms of relegation, they might well be saved by the fact there might be 14 teams next year.
True.
To be honest.
Don't get me started on that.
I know we've had this debate, and we try and debate about it, but really there's nothing to debate because
no comment.
That's it. So they may well be saved, but in terms of the actual regular season, I mean, you can't really expect much else, can you?
No, all just guessing, but it doesn't look the best of times for Widnes. And another sort of confusing one for me, it's Wigan. It's similar to Huddersfield for me. I think Wigan have kind of they've not gone off the boil a bit, but they've lost something in the game and they don't look as strong as they did even 2 years ago for me.
If I were a Wigan fan right now, I'd be a little bit worried, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you've got to be.
Because a lot of them weren't happy with last year, quite rightly.
Understandably
so. And I don't know what they've really done to remedy that. To be honest, they brought guys like Dan Sargent in and things like that. Is he an improvement on Gelling? For me, he's probably not. To be honest,
no, he's not a patch on Gelling. No, he's not as good as Gelling.
Exactly. So, and then the big one for me is McLaurin. I still can't get over the McLaurin going to Catalans. To be honest, it's baffled me now.
I just want to ask this question. They've given Sam Powell the 7 shirt and Luluai the 9 shirt.
Yeah, I saw
that.
Yeah.
Why have they decided to swap positions with them? Why did they not do it last year?
I don't know if that was the plan going forward.
I've always thought Luluai is a better 9. I don't think he's a 7 anymore. I think he's probably more influential playing at 9. But why didn't they have Powell as the scrum half last year if that's the plan this year? I don't think it is. I think once Morgan Eskery gets fit, then Tompkins will slot in there with Williams, and we'll see Eskery at fullback and Luluai and Powell interchanging at 9, but it's just a bit of a strange one for me, that one. Visay will play quite a bit of 7 this year, Sam Powell. I saw a statement and Chris Radlinski said he's going to play quite a bit of 7, which is strange considering he played hooker for the most of the season last year.
Like I say, it's almost as if this hasn't been planned.
That's exactly what it is. Like. It feels like they're panicking a little bit.
100%, because it just don't make sense, does it?
And I think he's maybe realised that Williams and Luluai, their partnership doesn't exist.
There isn't one, is there?
There isn't one.
There's no spark, nothing when I've seen him play. So
I mean, I like George Williams as a player, but he needs somebody alongside him that's going to guide him round. And I look and I'll compare it to Wakefield's partnership. Jacob Miller is in the same sort of mould as George Williams in the fact he's individual, breaks the line. He's plenty of pace, and then you've got an old Ed in Liam Finn.
He's got his general.
Stays the team around the pitch, kicking game, and that's it. Wigan didn't have that last year, and that's part of the reasons why they had a disappointing season, and I can't see it changing next year.
Like I say, Luluai, you probably see him as a better 9 than an half-back. He's not that general on the field. He's not going to direct you around. And people forget George Williams because he's played for England and because he's done so much. He's still only a young kid. He's only had a couple of years in the game, so he needs that arm around the shoulder a little bit sometimes on the field. And like I say, I'm not sure where that's going to come from. No,
I think there is a little bit of sort of panic stations, you mentioned all the swapping round, and it's kind of just damage limitation kind of speaks to me. They're trying to do something to kind of cover up the fact that they don't really know what they're doing. Yeah. But I think you've mentioned him, George Williams is the key for them. Last season, 29 assists. For a season that they didn't do that well in, that's pretty remarkable for him. And
some stat.
He is now probably the standout player in that team. And Escaré last season was also a big plus for them. So once he comes back into the side and you can get them two working together, you can pit them two out and say, build with these two. But with the rest of the squad, we spoke about the players coming in, Sargentson to replace Gellin. It's a bit, it's the
I'm not
the
having
story of him coming
Sargentson.
back.
I'm just not having him. Honestly,
I can understand why.
He's just one good game in 7.
Yeah.
And then gets injured for 4.
It's back to consistency, isn't it?
And that's it. That's Wigan. You look at all the players in the strike here as players that have got quality, but are inconsistent. And George Williams, all right, he's a young lad. He's going to find that consistency in the next few years. At the moment, he's not got it.
No.
And I think Sargentson's in that mould. Escaré's in that mould. You see him play well for 3 or 4 games, and then you think.
Like I said, we mentioned it at Wakefield in terms of like no one's going to want to go to Bellevue, that kind of thing. I think there's a few grounds around the league this year where people are going to be worried about going. I don't think they're going to be worried about going to the DW this year.
I'd love to go to DW. We do a nice pie before a game.
They do a lovely pie before a game, to be fair. And, but yeah, it's one of them grounds. But in the past, it's been a fortress. You look at now when teams are going to, and we're not even talking about your teams that are going to be in the top 3 or 4. You're talking about your probably mid-table sides who are going to fancy themselves. 100%.
Yeah, they've got a lot of ageing players as well, Wigan. Joel Tompkins and O'Loughlin. O'Loughlin's still class, don't get me wrong, but he can't keep doing it, can he?
No,
he can't keep doing it. Joel Tompkins, I think, for mine, he's gone.
He's not the player he was.
I have a lot of respect for him. I think he's been a quality player, and he's probably still got something to offer. But I just think, in terms of where Wigan are looking to get to, they need to start looking at replacing him. And I think they lack a bit of quality in the front row. Tony Clubb's been promoted to the number 8 shirt. I'm a big fan of him. I think he's a great prop. And who's the guy they've signed? Is it Hamlin?
Greg Hamlin from South Sydney.
Gabriel Hamlin, is it?
Yeah, something like that.
I haven't seen much of him, but by all accounts, I'm looking forward to getting him out there and mixing it in the middle. But Talima Tautai, another one. We were down at Wakefield and absolutely devastating on his day.
Yeah.
But when does he have them days?
Yeah.
And, he gives away penalties, he makes mistakes, but on the other hand, he wins you quick play the balls and he makes meetings for fun. It's if they can get the right balance, Wigan. It's a funny thing, and I think similar to Warwick, and I think they'll miss out on the 4. I think they'll be in the 8, but miss out on the 4.
So it just shows when we talk about the front row and all this stuff. We've not even mentioned Frank Paul Nuasalu, and there's a good reason why. Despite the fact he's on a massive wage by all accounts, he's one of the highest earners. He's not good. He's really, really not good. And I read something. I don't know if it's true, but that the fact he's on such a massive wages was part of the reason why McIlroy's potentially going to cut on, due to salary cap reasons, stuff like that. And if that was your option, Nuasala or McIlroy, who's making the decision?
Well, there was talks
who's the decision maker there?
Nobody had tapped Nuasala.
Well,
that's what there was reports of
That's
Nuasala
right,
going to West Tigers, and apparently they backed out of that deal.
Well, I can understand it.
So it's a bit, it's a bit of a. There's big questions about Wigan this year, and probably the biggest one we've looked at Warrington. We said a fresh start for them.
Yeah.
Could Wayne be looking at the same things Tony Smith was looking at? If it's another poor year by their standards, what are we saying?
Listen, if Wigan get off to a slow start, I fear for Wayne. I fear for Sean Wayne, and I don't like saying this, but I just think the Wigan fans are already getting on his back. There's only so much he can take of that, and if they get off to a poor start, I fear for him.
I look at that Wigan side and I look at the style of play, and it's well documented, but they've played the same since Michael Maguire's been in charge. It's always been the same. It's it sounds hard to say, but it's lying on the tackle, it's physical stuff. Yeah. It's not the most exciting.
It's outdated.
That's what it is. What they're doing, they're playing a Michael Maguire style of play, just less good. It's not even as effective as what Maguire did. And you look at sides around the league now, look at Wakefield, look at Castleford, who now chucking the ball about. Getting some exciting rugby league play, and it's working. And you look at Wigan now, and when Wakefield and Castleford and teams like that are playing Wigan, you're like, it's just like two teams playing two different sports here. And I would not be surprised to see Wayne not last the year, if I'm honest, because they do not take too kindly to trophyless seasons in Wigan.
No, and I can imagine, we mentioned sort of the bullying style of the Wigan teams in the past, and it's not really working anymore. And can they do something in the cup? On the day, did they have any strike plays that we haven't mentioned that could,
Listen, we're saying all this, and if Wigan went on to win the Super League, would we really be surprised? No. So it's not all doom and gloom. I just think they obviously had a poor season last year, and I don't think they've improved this year. So that's when the questions start being asked, and the style of play as well is another factor. You look at St Helens last year with Kieran Cunningham, that ultimately got him the sack.
Yeah.
So that's where my question comes in. Are we going to change the style this year to pick up some more points? I don't think they will.
It'd then be a matter of who they bring in, though, wouldn't it? So
I think form, consistency, it's a big thing for every team, but specifically for Wigan this year, we've mentioned it with Huddersfield. If they had a bad start, they might be in trouble. When we say Wigan, if they have a bad start, I don't think they're going to be in trouble for the bottom four, in my opinion. I think they're going to do.
Yeah, I think there's enough talent there.
Yeah, there's more than enough talent in that squad.
Certainly, but yeah, it would be tough. Yeah, tough start.
Yeah, and we'll move on to our questions for this week. One on Twitter from Ryan Holroyd, and we'll go to you two for this one. It's, what's your opinions on the New York franchise, and if they and Toronto end up in the same lower league, how this will affect the part-time clubs? So we go for the first bit first. What's your opinions of the New York franchise?
I haven't got one, to tell you the truth. Well, look, without seeing a strategic plan that's been written out, looking at the long term, the short term, the effect it's going to have for championship clubs, we can't really make a comment on that. Am I for it? No, probably not. But I'm old school. I think we try and improve what we've already got rather than add to it and then still complain about the standard of what we've already got. Look, if it's going to benefit the game and it's going to expand it, bring more money in, more revenue, then fair enough, that's fine. But like I say, without looking at a strategic plan, with facts and figures for what's going to happen in the future, I can't comment on that.
Like I say, it sounds great, doesn't it? Having a team in New York City. And
I tell you what, I can get on phone to Michael Carter. I wouldn't mind going over to New York for a few days.
It's not a bad way,
yes, come on, New York.
It's not a bad away day, but you know what I mean? Yeah, it sounds brilliant. I mean, as Toronto has, and it'd be amazing if we get the American League or going over there, whatever, and 20,000 fans, 30,000 fans there every week. You know what I mean? But do we trust the RFL to deliver on that? Let's be honest.
Do we trust them on anything anymore?
It's a long shot, isn't it?
As we've said, we don't know what the structure is for next season. No. We're told there's a Lions tour next year.
How bizarre is it? Why are we even discussing
exactly
that we don't know what the structure is for next year?
It's madness, isn't it?
When the season starts.
Can you imagine being
in
at Premier League and you've got teams in Championship, Middlesbrough, Leeds United, whatever, oh, we can finish top, but we might not go up next year. And
It's
there's
madness, isn't it?
talk that Toronto, if they earn promotion,
They're
might
not
not
guaranteed a place.
go up. So what?
What are they playing for?
I had
really?
I had a guy after that news broke last week. What Ralph Rimmer said, wasn't it? I had a guy from Toronto I know who messaged me, who's followed the Wolfpack a little bit, and he was just like, "What's this about?" And I'm like, I could not even explain it to him. For a guy who's literally just come into Rugby League in the last 2 years following the Wolfpack, I'm like, how do I even start explaining the situation to him? I'm like, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. You really wouldn't believe me. Like, you would not. It's absolute madness. How can a team finish top of the league this year, get through the eights, or finish in the top 4 of the eights, should I say, and not go up? It's after all this investment supposedly gone into this team, and to be fair to Toronto, you can't really fault them. I mean,
Oh no, they've
brought their own TV deals and all this kind of stuff. Like, you can't fault their side at all. They're trying to make it work, but it's just maddening. It's just maddening, to be honest.
And I think for a sport that's trying to bring new fans to the game, it really doesn't help when, I just said, people who haven't been watching for a while come and say, "Oh, can you explain this? Why you said this?" And you go, "Well, no, I can't really." You know,
another thing is as well.
I don't know.
We talk about the game not getting enough coverage and enough promotion. There's a reason we're sat here now discussing politics of Rugby League when the season's 2 days away, because it's the main talking point.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because we need a plan. We need to know what's going on. Because I'm sorry, but the greatest game of all kicks off in a couple of days' time, and well, I haven't really seen much promotion for it. And we can talk about that advert. I mean,
we spoke about last week.
The less said about that, the better.
Exactly.
In my eyes.
I think the follow-up advert for that advert was even better, to be honest. Where the behind-the-scenes advert.
All the behind-the-scenes video, it's fantastic.
Where they go, "Oh,
could make a better advert of me stood on Bellevue Tennyson giving it this after £1 million game."
The thing that baffled me about that is that advert came out from the RFL, from the Super League, and say what you want about that, it is what it is. Betfred came out with one last week. Absolutely outstanding. Yeah. It was about a minute long, and it was just highlights last year.
Yeah.
That's all you need. You're promoting your game. You're not promoting bleep tests or what.
No.
That's bizarre.
Who cares about George Williams running the bleep test in the dark?
Well, you don't care less, do you? You couldn't care less.
But you show them the last 2 minutes of Cast vs Saints last year or something like that. There you go. You've just promoted your game. That's all you need.
All you need is an advert that fits with the game. Quick, hard-hitting, celebrate what's good about the game and not acting of players. Because, the advert was bad enough as is. You watch the behind the scenes and they go, Ben Curry, can you hold a plank for a minute? Well, that's not really the best thing to be saying.
Bizarre.
It was bizarre. It was bizarre.
It's, we talk about it as a marketing ploy.
Who's come up with this? Who's responsible for this?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I mean,
it looked like a last-minute idea.
I'm sure whoever it is has gone into hiding, to be fair.
Hibernation. You won't blame them either, would you?
Anyway, we'll get back to the main question, and
we will answer Ryan's question.
The New York franchise for me.
Sorry, Ryan, I've no comment.
The New York franchise, it's a bit of look after your own. He mentions the part-time clubs there. Look after League One. Look after the Championship. Put your money into them, and then once they're sorted, then we can expand. Then once our main core of teams are all up, doing well, there's no talks of teams having money issues, stuff like this, then we can go, oh yeah, we'll have this team, we'll have this team. But as Ryan says in the second half of his question, if New York and Toronto both end up in the same league, what does this mean for the lower league sides?
I'll tell you what it means, and it's not even if New York get in there, it's just with Toronto being in there, and we're talking the Championship, they don't know where they're going to play.
Yep.
It was announced a couple of days ago that I think it's, correct me if I'm wrong, Toronto versus Halifax, I think.
Yeah.
They're going to play in London now. Why? Can someone tell me why? If they're not going to play in Toronto, like where they should be playing their home games, then why are they playing in London? Why are they making Halifax go down to London to play? Just play it at the Shea.
You'd be mad if you were Halifax, wouldn't you?
Exactly. It's just we talk about money in the game now. There's not in it. It's just untold. Just.
I'd have been looking forward to going down, having a few sherbets, a nice social weekend with boys. It's all been ruined now, hasn't it?
No.
And I think, especially with Toronto, I mentioned it there. They're still trying to sort out where they're playing the games. There was talks of him doing a full home block and then a full away block. Now it's a talk of doing 4 over there, 4 over here, 4 over there.
It comes down to him not having a clue, isn't it?
Yeah.
Couldn't organise a session in a brewery.
Exactly,
I had to change the words there.
But it's like I said, I can't really fault Toronto as such. they've tried the best. I just feel like it's the powers that be that are just not allowing it, and just the money that is just not there. That's not allowing it. But that's something that should have been foreseen, and to be fair, was foreseen by a lot of people. But
yeah, I think as Connor said before, get all the planning done straight from the off before you even think about launching a team. Get the planning done.
Yeah.
Sort out what's going to happen. You know, Toronto's a good example and a bad example. There's been good parts for it. There's been bad parts for it. Learn from that. Next time, if they try and expand, sort every little detail out before you go for it.
So, in fairness, I think they've done, considering it's only been a couple of years, they've done pretty well with Toronto where they are actually at. In terms of the New York side, I don't know. I mean, it's taken them 5-6 years to start at Bradford, and it's still not sorted, is it?
No.
And that's a few miles away from Red Hall, you know what I mean? So you've got to feel for Bradford fans, haven't you? So it's just like, so if you can't sort out Bradford Bulls, one of the main establishments in British Rugby League, you can have a team in New York City. Best of luck. Best of luck.
It's a strange one, but we move on to the part we've all been dreading. Connor's picked an excellent episode to come on, and he looks very excited.
I can't wait
to stir the kettle with this one. It's the predictions. We've already done our Man of Steel ones in the past and the top try scorer ones. Yep. Can mention that if they come up, but we'll kick it off with the big one.
Before I quit with my league predict, what have you done? Your try scorer and Man of Steel?
We've mentioned Man of Steel and try scorers in the past.
Top try scorer after the full season, after the Super 8s as well. I'm going to go with Tom Johnston.
Oh, what a surprise!
He was also my choice. I think it was my second choice, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
flip of a car between him and Bish. And Man of Steel, James Roby. Can't look past him.
Ooh, okay, that's interesting.
Right then, we'll get on with the table, and we'll go top 4 first for each of us.
Okay.
Middle 4, bottom 4. Start off with you, Connor. You're giving me the eye. Go on, what's your top 4?
St Helens, top of the league.
Ooh.
I'm going to go with Hull in second.
Ooh.
Castleford in third. And fourth, the mighty Trin.
Trinity Reckon in the 4. Interesting.
Go on, Ross. I'll leave the best for last in myself.
I'll go on then. I'll go reverse order. 4th is going to be Hull FC. My opinion. 3rd, I'm a little higher on Warrington this year. I think Warrington are going to come in 3rd with the additions they've made. 2nd, you're going to love me, St Helens.
Castleford in first.
All right, Trinity in 4th. And yeah, I'll be optimistic. I think Castle's still got enough to come top.
Now, I've got a bit of flack for this off you today, but my top 4 isn't in any order now.
No, it is. Go on.
I was going to do a cop out.
Sitting on the fence.
But my top 4,
in any order.
Not in any order. I've thought of an order.
Oh, you thought of it now.
I've put it in order. They're not in it on the screen. But we're going to go Leeds 4th. I'm going to go Hull in 3rd. I'm going to go St Helens 2nd. And I'm going to back Cass to do it again.
On his screen, he's got him as 3rd. How all of a sudden have you decided to bump him up 2 places? I'm not buying it. I'm not having it.
There's a note at the side of my table that says top 4 any way round. I did a top 4 before I come to the studio, and I've been thinking about it. I've been swapping them round.
Listening to our expert Rugby League analysis for last hour.
Especially talking about these 4 sides that we covered last week.
You're just spending too much time on me. That's the problem.
No, listen, Cass will be there or thereabouts. There's no doubt about that.
I think one thing we've said is Cass Saints top 2.
I just think Saints. I just think Saints this year, class.
I'd like to back them. My own personal view, obviously support the club, but I don't know. I think there's always just that bit of me that goes, I know we can do it, but will we? Many seasons we've gone, oh yeah, we can do it, and then we've struggled against the likes of the lower teams, and on our day we can play with the top teams and come out with the famous never write off the Saints wins.
I can't believe you're a St Helens fan and you're not going for Saints to finish top.
I think it's
negative.
Not me. Optimistic.
I'll settle for top 2 and then grand final winners.
All I will say is about this, in terms of Cass Saints, it's going to be interesting on Friday, isn't it?
Very interesting.
I think after we've done the predictions, we'll have a little chat about the 2 games that's going to start off the season on Sky. And But yeah, Cass Saints going to be a big one.
Yeah, we'll move on to the next 4 now.
The middle four.
The middle
Yep.
four.
5th to 8th. I'm going to go with Leeds in 5th. I think there's no halfbacks for me. I don't think Moon and Myler are going to... I mean, don't get me wrong, Joel Moon is a class player.
He's a class centre.
He's a class player, and he could he could make a good 6 if he had, like we were talking about earlier, a general at the side of him. He hasn't got that in Myler, so that's part of the reason I'm going to go for Leeds in 5th. Warrington in 6th,
Low down.
purely because, like I touched upon earlier, that they've a hell of a lot of new faces there, and they may take a bit of time to get going. Wigan in 7th, I think. Well, I just think they'll struggle, and that's probably realistic for me. Wigan in 7th, and Huddersfield in 8th. I like Huddersfield. I do like Huddersfield. I just think if they get a few injuries, that's when they'll struggle. But they've a lot of strike players. Turner, Rankin, Jake Marmo. He's a dark right.
He's a great player.
Talked about James Rowe being Man of Steel earlier. If he can stay fit all season,
That's the key for him.
he's a shout for Man of Steel for me, Jake Marmo. So that's why I think they'll finish 8th.
Ross, go with you again.
My 5th spot is going to be Wakefield. I think they're going to fall just short, but I would not be at all surprised if it was I had Hull in 4th if those two places were flipped. To be fair, but for the sake of this, I'll go Wakefield 5th, Leeds in 6th. I think same kind of reason. Like I say, I saw him last week, and Myler's just not. He's no Danny Maguire, to be honest. You look outside, they had to bring a replacement of his calibre, and I don't think they've done it. I just don't think there's enough talent in that Leeds team, to be honest. But again, they're a team you can never write off. We'll see. We'll just kind of see how they go first few weeks, I think. And my 7th and 8th, I agree. Wigan and Huddersfield. I think Wigan, for the reason I mentioned already, just not got enough, and I think Wayne's going to be a spot above potentially. And Huddersfield, like I say, the strike players are there. Again, I don't think the squad's quite big enough to make a proper dent in the league. Strong enough, should I say, in the league. But yeah, I think that's probably their ceiling, probably 8th, maybe knocking on the 7th. But I think, again, like a bit of a consolatory season for Huddersfield.
Yeah, I think I'll back up that Wigan, Huddersfield 7th and 8th for me. But I'm going to put Wakefield in 6th and Warrington in 5th. I think I'm still going to keep Leeds up there in 4th for me, because I think early on or halfway in the season, I'm going to back Jordan Lilly to break into that side. If he's not sent out, I think Jordan Lilly is going to partner either Myler or Moon in that half.
I think that is the move.
And I think if Jordan Lilly can get put in there, get the confidence, and become sort of, when he first come on, he looked a decent player, and I think if you can just give that bit of confidence to him, I think he could really help out that Leeds side.
I think whilst he's slow, Jordan Lilly, as in he's not going to break a line and go 40 yards, he's got a good brain.
His brain is very fast.
And his kicking game is decent. I just don't think McDermott fancies him. I don't, you look at some players and you think, oh, he's a McDermott player, you can tell he likes him. I just think Lilly, I just don't see him playing much under McDermott.
And we've seen it. He shipped him out to Featherstone every week, hasn't he?
Yeah.
That's
Bradford, yeah.
Bradford, yeah. So
No, but he's qualities, Lilly. He'll come good. Give it a couple of years, he'll break in. Whether it's at Leeds or whether he has to move on to find some first team rugby, he'll be fine. Jordan Lilly.
Whether he's a McDermott player or not, for me, he's a natural 6, and that's more than Joel Moon is for me. So
yeah, and I think my 4 and 5, like you mentioned, can very much switch round. I think Warrington, it's just about, can they gel that team together quick enough and to make a challenge for that top 4, or are they just going to miss out? But bottom 4, now, who's in trouble?
Catalan's in 9th for me. McAlorm's a big signing. I think he's the difference between them finishing 11th, 12th. Well, I don't think they finished 12th because of Widnes, but he's a difference. I think, look, they'll be fighting for the top 8. I could have quite easily swapped them in Huddersfield round.
Yeah.
They've lost a few. I mean, Justin Horrow's obviously moved on. He's come to us, but look, they've still got. If they can get everyone together at home, nobody's still. It's still a tough place to go against Catalan. I just don't think the squad's good enough to push towards the top 4. But I wouldn't be surprised if they were anywhere between 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. 10th, Hull KR. They've got some decent players. Hull KR. You look at obviously Danny Maguire. What a signing!
Yeah.
Regardless of his age, he's still going to guide him around the field.
Still a quality.
Still a quality player. The question is who plays alongside him. Obviously, Danny Addy, I think, was penciled in for that role. He suffered an injury. Who's going to play alongside Maguire? Chris Atkin, Matty Marsh. Was that a French lad as well? But I think they'll do okay. I mean, it's another thing as well. Their own form's going to be a key factor because they're a tough team to beat at
Craven Park. Yeah.
Is it Craven Park or whatever it's called now?
We
go there on Friday and I'm expecting a real tough test. A real tough test.
Return to Super League, some fireworks.
So yeah, Hull KR, they're another team. I think if this managed to break their way into the top 8, I wouldn't be too shocked. But I've gone for them in 10th. Salford in 11th. I think though them and Widnes are the two teams who are going to probably be further adrift than anybody else. They've lost some players. Salford, obviously Marwan Kulkash has moved on, and there's talk of a couple of others leaving. We heard about Robert Louis last week.
It was okay. I tried to poach him in there.
Yeah, that's
potentially. So
it's a strange one. That it's all been leaked to the press, but yeah, they need to keep Louis fit. Little John signed, hasn't he? Is he going to play half with Louis? I know in pre-season they've been using Evans as a fullback, and O'Brien's been playing a lot of half-back.
I like Evans at fullback, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I
like Evans. He's a good player.
Yeah,
look, if they can keep the players fit, they've got plenty of strike and plenty of quality to make a charge for that top 8. But I just can't see it. I think those and Widnes, and I won't really say out about Widnes.
We've said all we have to say.
I'm about to say that they're bottom of the league and maybe relegated.
Yep. Well, yeah. So in terms of my bottom 4, great minds must think alike. So I've got the exact same. To be fair,
exactly in the same order as well.
Yeah. Yeah, Catalan's 9th. It's, like I said, won't dwell on too much. It's pretty much similar reasons, really. I mean, Catalan, like I said, McLaurin's massive, and they need a bounce back this year. They really need a bounce back. It looked like you were worried for him in the middle 8th last year. You were genuinely worried for him going to them games, and they need a proper kick up the arse, really, to be honest, this year. And I think if there's a couple of signings they've made, will provide that, hopefully. Who's left? OKR 10th. Yeah, I said Maguire in it. I think Maguire. I said this last week. In terms of the championship side, you looked at that championship side, but it looked like
it was a very strong side.
It looked like border on the Super League side then, didn't it? And you've had the guy like Danny Maguire in there who just like lifts you so much. The halfback situation is troubling. It's a real shame Danny Hardy's gone down like that. It could have been a bit of a moment for him after decent World Cup, but yeah, I can see OKR in 10th. Tim Sheens is the X factor for them, really. Just having that mind in the stands is going to be massive. Salford. I said this a few weeks ago. I didn't enter in the bottom 2. I did wonder whether to put OKR there, but I've stuck with Salford. I think off the field is not great.
No,
really, it hasn't. I mean, it hasn't been great for a number of reasons over the years. But I think with Kukash gone as well, with a bit of luck, that trust will work, and they're going to be all right. But it depends if Kukash is still not throwing any money at them, or if they've got no money coming in, because God, we all know what the crowds are like.
Yeah,
it must be tough to run that club, to be honest. The crowds they get, and in terms of on the field, again, you got guys Evans, O'Brien, as I mentioned, Louis, but they've lost some guys in Dobson and things like that, and it's going to be tough. And obviously, Murdoch Masilla, he was their best player by far last year for me, and they just weren't consistent enough towards the end of the season to warrant anything more than that for me. And as we mentioned, Widnes, can't really see much more than 12th, to be honest.
No, I think I'll shake up a bit. I've gone with Salford in 9th, purely just because I think out of the teams, I think, comparing them to the Super League sides, I think they've just got that bit more quality than Catalans and Widnes, Louis, Evalds, O'Brien that we've mentioned. So I think if they can all have a decent year, I think they should be okay. Hull KR, not expecting anything special for them, consolidation year, just go good in the league, make sure your home form's good. Then I've gone Catalans and Widnes, my bottom 2, 11th and 12th, purely just because Catalans, I just worry for the halves. I don't see...
who's going to play 6?
I think that's the question, isn't it, really?
I think...
So you've got Bosch.
Is it Sammy Sonilangi?
They got, yeah.
He's been given it, but yes. he never played standoff last year.
No,
League.
No.
He played a lot of centre.
It was utility centre. stuff like that. So
And,
It's not ideal going to Super League season, is it?
no,
The
it's
utility
not what
guys,
you
yeah.
want.
it's, I mean, don't get me wrong, it could be. It could work out and be a
Could
good
be fun,
six. But only time will tell, I think.
No, I think for me, that's the big issue with Catalans. I think Lucas Alba, is it? If he's still there,
Yeah,
young French lad. I think.
he's another one there. I mean, he showed promise to start with. He hasn't really kicked on.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really blame the lad. He hasn't had a run in the team, but if he gets one this year, he's going to have to take his chance because Catalan need to pick up as many points as possible. They can't afford to get off to a slow start. They need to really get on the horse quickly.
Again, they were a side, 4 or 5 years ago. You couldn't win over there.
No.
You'd have maybe your Leeds, maybe your Wigan getting a win over there all year.
Even in recent years, not even 5 years ago.
It's tough to go over to Perpignan and get a win. But in last season, it was.
No.
Suddenly we're talking 50-50 maybe home record.
Last
something
season,
like that. And when you've got such a big home field advantage like that, the fact that you have to go over there and play in the warm weather and all that kind of stuff, you've got to make it pay. And if they can't make it pay, because it's going to be tough for them coming over to your likes of St Helens Bonnet on a Friday night when it's bouncing down with rain and stuff like that. It's going to be tough for them. So they've got to make that home possession pay.
Yeah, so that's our predictions finished for this year. I'm sure we'll get a nice reaction to that at the end of the year when.
And do all put your nice comments in the down below.
What do we reckon? What do we reckon for Cass Saints then?
Cass Saints, the big games this week. Cass Saints and then Leeds Warrington is the other one. Yeah.
I just think
I'll let the neutral kick this one off. Go on, Cass Saints. You ask the question.
Yes,
you kick it off.
I think Cass are a little bit undercooked. The players have come back late. Luke Gale's come back late from. Obviously, he's been at the World Cup. He's going to take a few. Who's going to play halfback? Is Jamie Ellis going to play, or are they going to go with young Truman?
Could be true.
That's the question. I just think Cass will probably struggle for the first 2 or 3 weeks. I think they'll pick up soon after that, but I think they might struggle for the first few weeks. And I fancy Saints to win by 16.
Ooh. You're not
Mark my words.
16.
I'll invite you back.
The next Gary Schofield.
We're saying that. He's definitely not coming back. To be fair, I saw, although the conditions were really tough, I've seen Cass play a couple of times, obviously in pre-season, but the game against Leeds last week, I saw enough, especially in that first 20-30 minutes when the pitch was still relatively all right. After that, you can't really take, especially second half, you couldn't take anything from it, but I saw enough positives in that first 20 minutes to say we're going to be all right. Gale didn't look too far off the pace. Dropped a bit of ball, but he was handling the ball bar soaked, to be fair. The half-back situation is interesting. Ellis played well, to be fair. I think Ellis has been one of the standouts in pre-season, to be fair to him. He had a knock as well.
I saw him in a protective boot. Is that issue? Is he all right now?
He seems to be, because that was the week before the Leeds game. He was in that, and he came back in. He looks absolutely fine to me. So the big thing for us this year is the kicking game is going to be massive. In Ellis and Gale, you've got 2 very good long-distance kickers. Ellis especially, he came on at half-time against Leeds, and I think the first kick he made, we went 50-60 yards, pinned Leeds right back in their own 5, and it's going to be I think it's going to be massive, especially with our pack as well.
You look at McShane as well, he can kick.
Exactly.
He's a good kicking game from 9, and Roberts from out the back, he's not a bad kicker.
You're talking 3 before, very good options, going to keep people thinking that, and when you've got the go forward of our pack as well, which is up there with one of the top 2-3 packs in the league, I think we may be beating teams slightly differently this year. I think it more maybe get a quick lead, and rather than just kicking on and putting 50-60 points on them, it might be getting in early, getting 10-20, but then it's kicking them to death and grinding them out, controlling the game, which is really what we need to do. And
that's something that Castleford were maybe guilty of not doing last year.
Exactly.
If you were going to pick a fault, grinding teams down and winning those tight games. If they can do that this year, there's no reason why they can't, do what finish top like we did last year. But time will tell. We're talking, it's early doors. We're not even season's not even started yet. Time will tell.
It's all talking.
It's the hardest week to predict, isn't it?
Week
1. Week 1 to 5 are probably the hardest to predict over a season.
Do we know what the weather's going to be like in St Helens on Friday night?
I know what it's going to be like in Ulkayard. It's always snowing, whether it's summer or winter. So I'm in for a nice night.
I'm glad I'm going Saints rather than
St Helens, cold, gloomy, rainy.
Cold, gloomy, rainy in that case.
Just one big warm spot from where Benny Barber is absolutely, completely destroying
you make me sick.
the pitch.
I just hope Danny Richardson plays.
Yeah, same. Against Lee the other day, we struggled massively against them. Right. I wasn't at the game, but 24-20, against the Lee side, it's pretty much our first team out there, and Lee are a good team, but if we're only beating them by 4 points, it's only our
look. You've players in
pre-season.
pre-season. They'll be playing in dinner jackets. They'll be. Look at the shot that I don't know if you saw it on calendar. Ryan Hall going with his arms trying to keep warm. You just think
I've never seen Ryan Hall look more relaxed.
He's not interested one bit
in
this game, and you get players like that. As long as they're all right for round one, that's all that matters.
But we started Johnny Lomax at 6 in that game, and a lot of people saying he wasn't impressive.
Is he a 6?
Well, there's a big debate because Matty Smith started the first pre-season at 9. We had
that's what I said.
Farge and I think might have been Richardson started 6 and 7.
Who would you go? Oh, your 6 and 7 if you were to pick your 6
my
and 7.
6 and 7, Farge and Richardson for me.
I agree, yeah.
Picking. Or at most Richardson and Smith with Farge on the bench.
I think Richardson and Smith are too. I think they're too similar. I think Richardson wants to guide a team around the park. I think that's what he can do, and I think if you play Matty Smith, it'll take away from Richardson's game. I just think Matty Smith is just too slow. He's too slow. What does he offer? He's got a good kicking game. I'll give him that.
He's not
good kicking game, but he's too slow, and I just think Farge and Richardson complement each other perfectly. We saw that last season.
I'd give it the youth. Give it them to build a partnership now that's going to be 6 years minimum, really, for that. It's obviously could go on for a lot more than that, depending on that. But
Lomax might play a bit of centre this year.
There is. I've seen him line up there in training as well. There's a lot of questions around this side with Lexa Barber, even on the wings with Swift, Makinson and Grace all fighting for them 2 spots. It's an interesting time to see what side's going to be put out there, really. But I think it's going to be a close game no matter what.
I can see it. Like I say, conditions are going to be tough. It's February, you know what I mean? I think I can see it not being too high scoring. I can't see any team getting above 30 anyway.
No.
If I had to put one out there, I'd say Cast by 4. But
surprise.
He's going to go Saints anyway.
Who's the game on? Is it Warrington Leeds?
Warrington Leeds Thursday, yeah.
So gives your Saints Cast prediction.
Saints Cast prediction. I'm going to go Saints by 6. By 6.
I'm outnumbered.
Again, close game, but.
Listen, I've said Saints by 16, so that means Cass are going to win by about 40.
Exactly. Then you can come every week. Then you do that.
No, Leeds Warrington.
The kick-off.
I think this one's even.
Toss of a coin.
Yeah,
for me.
It's 50-50, isn't it?
I'll probably go Warrington. Home advantage, I think, for round one is crucial because you get you get that good feeling.
You get the buzz of the
round
new
one. You get the
season,
buzz. The fans are out, they're singing and whatever. I think home advantage might see Warrington through, but it'll be interesting for Leeds. It'll be interesting to see what approach to take, whether they try and beat them down the middle or play expansive like we know we're so good at. If I'm going to pick a team, I'm going to go Warrington by about 6. Warrington by 6.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think Warrington by 4, Warrington by 6. Yeah, I can see one score in it. I think another probably really tight one, probably low scoring. Home advantage, like I say, is going to play a part. I think get plenty in Allwell Jones. It's quite a decent atmosphere in there. It's one of the few of the new grounds I think that actually has a decent atmosphere when it really gets full. It's a tough one, because you just really don't know how Warrington are going to come out. I think we have a better idea how Leeds are going to come out, but in terms of Warrington, who knows?
No, like we said, it's the massive change in everywhere on and off the field for Warrington, and it really is a 50-50 clash for me. I think it's going to be a game that's going to be decided really in first 20-30. I think.
Maybe so.
I don't think either team, if they go behind, is going to come back. But at the same time, I can't see one team blowing the other away. If I'm going to make a prediction, I'm probably going to back Warrington for week 1. But again, by 12 at most for me.
Yep, agree with
that. That's it. That's the 2 big games this week.
We're going to do a no card, same as our mate. We're going to do
here we go.
Have a little discussion.
Go on, Ross. You can kick us off.
Plug.
What are you going for? I'll finish off with what I think.
I think you'll win. I'll give you that. I can see, but to be fair, like I say, Craven Park. It's going to be. I imagine there's plenty of tickets sold for that one.
Yeah.
Return to Super League. They always have
a big atmosphere there.
It should be quite a big occasion over there, to be honest. And like I said, there is top quality players in that OKR side, but the halfbacks do worry me. Not one of them, but the other one.
Yeah.
Maguire's sound, but I can see Wakey just coming away with it, but I would go Wakefield by 10.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough. There's no two ways about that. Ulster are going to have the fans behind them. Craven Park is a tough place to go, no matter when you go. You know, it's always been the same. I just think Ulster will probably get off to a fast start. I just think Wakefield's quality will come through in the end, and I think Wakefield by. I'm going to go Wakefield by 12.
Yeah, I'd echo that. I think, as you mentioned, the quality. I think over the full 80, I think there's going to be times where that just comes out a little bit. And
they've got, Wakefield have got individual players that can, if you're in an arm wrestle and it is tight, they've got individual players that can do something from nothing.
Just break
Jacob Miller, Tom Johnston,
More so
Ben Jones Bishop, and Bill Tupu. How well did he play towards the back end of last year?
Look at that try he's got.
I'm looking forward to seeing how he goes with Tom down that left side.
Yeah, that's quite a threat, isn't it? Yeah.
And then you've got Riesling and Joe Arundel. Who do you pick out of them two? It's going to be tough for Chesney. It's going to be really tough.
It's a nice problem to have, though, isn't it?
But it's a nice problem to have. And Wakefield by 12.
I'd just echo that. I think I said over the 80, the quality is going to come out. So I'd probably echo Wakefield by 12 again. I think I'd be very surprised. Well, less so surprised with this game to see a big score, but early in the season, you never know what's going to happen. Teams could come out and absolutely breeze through round one, or they could come out and be rusty and struggle through it.
Team could come out and put a marker down, who knows?
Yeah, it all serves for an interesting chat next week. We'll be back next week, usual time, covering the games from the Super League, talking through all the big talking points. I'm sure there'll be many, reviewing all the games. But for now, that's it for today. Leave a like, comment and subscribe. Thanks for joining me today, Ross. Of course, Connor, the first special guest.
No
It's
problem.
been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you all the same time next week.